6 weeks of horrific mass killing and rapes of over 300,000 Chinese citizens. They were ravaged by the Japanese Imperial Army after its seizure of Nanjing, China on December 13, 1937, during the Chinese-Japanese War, a war before World War II. My name is Lorena Serafico, representing the Vancouver Committee for Domestic Workers and Caregivers' Rights, or CDWCR. We join you in the call for Canada to commemorate the Nanjing Massacre every December 13 of every year. We join you in affirming this historical fact, the destruction of which was ordered by the commanding general of the Japanese Central China Front Army, Matsui Iwane, and the acts of murder and rape carried out by Tani Hisao, then Lieutenant General. Both men were found guilty of war crimes by the International Military Tribunal for the Far East and were executed. Despite the apologies of former Japanese Prime Ministers Tomichi Murayama and Junichiro Koizumi for Japanese atrocities during World War II, none of Japanese former Prime Ministers have apologized for the Nanjing Massacre in 1937-1938. What is worse is that the current Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's denial of any evidence that Japan forced comfort women into sexual slavery during the war. Is it because his great-great-grandfather was Viscount Yoshimasa Oshima, who served as general in the Imperial Japanese Army? Is it because Prime Minister Abe wants to return militarization in Japan? This historical revisionism by Prime Minister Abe is an insult to many women. Over 400,000 comfort women who were raped in occupied countries by Imperial Japan, particularly China and South Korea, and also the Philippines. They were also comfort stations in Myanmar, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Taiwan, Indonesia, Singapore, East Timor, and other Japanese-occupied territories. Similar to a memorial statue built for comfort women in South Korea in early December 2017, a memorial was erected in the Philippines to commemorate the Filipino comfort women who were forced to work as sexual slave labor in Japanese military brothels during World War II. Both South Korea and Philippine governments are pressured by the Abe government to take down these statues. And as my colleague here has said, it was successfully removed. The Abe conservative government is all set for another term with the main agenda of amending the Japanese post-war constitution, mainly on inclusion of explicit reference to the self-defense forces. These are just some current events we need to follow on the issue of comfort women. CDWCR support the call for commemorations like the Nanjing Massacre we are having today, and protest against historians and Japanese leaders who downplay Japan's wartime sexual slavery by calling these comfort women prostitutes, as Prime Minister Abe also alluded to. So history won't be forgotten and won't be changed. Those who try to revise the history of comfort women perpetrated by the Japanese Imperial Army in the 1930s and 1940s must be called out so that justice for comfort women and their families be achieved, so that real and sincere apologies to the victims and their families must be made by the perpetrators and their citizens, so that similar atrocities and human rights violations will no longer have a place in our current and future history. Women must continue to be vigilant together. Thank you for inviting us to be with you in the call for Canada to commemorate the Nanjing Massacre every 13th of every year. Thank you.